that's my whole thing. Is like, I am not out here to tear down individual Mormons or to tear down their faith.
Right.
I am out here to call out the extreme harm in a horrible system. And
Yeah.
the temple ceremony is part of that. It's a big part of it. And I know that Mormons consider the verbiage to be sacred and they don't want these things revealed on the internet. But my problem is every time I start to think about being respectful to individual members, all I can think of is how many children are being essayed every single day in the Mormon church.
Yeah.
And they've done nothing about it. And so I used to be very not anti-Mormon, but pro-truth. And now I am 100% anti-Mormon. And I'm proud of that. I am proud of it because they're harming children and they could stop it and they won't.
The reason I don't really feel bad about it is because they keep it so hidden that by the time you get to the temple and start receiving these covenants and going through these rituals, it feels too late to get out.
Yep.
I think that's wrong. If you want to go to the temple still after hearing what the ceremonies are, by all means, please go. Please take those covenants, and live your faith. I am sick of people being uninformed and then getting to a place where you feel like you can't get out.
Yeah.
Garments were so restricting. And like we've talked about, a physical reminder every single day of being in the temple and what you promised to do. If I knew the mental hold these ceremonies would have upon me, I definitely would have opted out. And I think it's wrong to not give people that choice.
I agree.
That's where I'm at.
There is no such thing as informed consent when you go through the temple. And I think that is, it's one of the worst things. It really is one of the worst things because it's like you say, if we had been fully informed, we might have made a different choice. And that's what they don't want. They don't want you to know about all of this stuff. And the reason they keep it secret is because if more people knew what it really was before they did it, they wouldn't do it. And it's another form of indoctrination. It's another way of keeping people stuck in the church. Because once you do the ceremonies and you're like, oh no, I promised God I would never reveal them. I promised God I would never leave the church. Like I made these temple promises and it's a thing between me and God.
Yeah.
And it does. It keeps people stuck in the church. It keeps people stuck in this very narrow, small little way of living life. And the thing that I love the most about being out is that I have the whole world to consider now instead of this tiny one track way of seeing everything.
Yes, absolutely. I feel the exact same way. And it's literally like having the lights turned on when you've been in the dark. It is something that you don't even know the joy you can feel once you have that vice grip taken off your mind.
Yeah.
I never thought I would feel that way or I would have left sooner.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the other part about the indoctrination in the religion. Part of the indoctrination is vilifying ex-members and telling people that if they leave, they're going to lose everything. It's talks like, where will you go? What will you do? Who will you be friends with? Who will you even, what will you even do with your life if you don't have this? If you don't have us, you're nothing. That's what they tell us. Yeah. And not only that, but they're like, you're going to be miserable without the blessings of God. You're going to live a horrible, miserable life. Like, look at how miserable all of those people are who leave the church. My family members feel sorry for me because they think that I am miserable. And I'm here to tell you, like, I have never been happier. Am I happy all the time? Is my life free from any kind of bump in the road or tragedy or distraction? No, absolutely not. That would be ridiculous to think that that was the case. But all the choices are mine now. I get to decide what
Yeah.
I value. I get to decide who I love. You know, just
Yep.
I have everything now.
Yeah.
I wanted to read
Yes.
this quote from Marcus Aurelius. He says, "Live a good life. If there are gods and they are just, then they will not care how devout you have been, but will welcome you based on the virtues you've lived by. If there are gods but unjust, then you should not want to worship them. If there are no gods, then you will be gone, but will have lived a noble life that will live on in the memories of your loved ones." I don't want to worship a
Beautiful.
God who doesn't want me in heaven because I didn't do the secret handshakes.
Agreed.
I mean, it's as simple as that for me.
Agreed. Agreed.
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan.
And I'm Kirsten.
And together we are Ex Mormon Snark.
We are trading our testimonies for truth bombs.
And we're spilling all the Mormon tea and coffee and tobacco and alcohol and harmful drugs. Just kidding. Just kidding about
and
the harmful
Dr.
drugs.
Pepper.
Today I've got water. I've decided I'm going to drink more water. So here I am. Also, we should probably mention, Kirsten, that you and I yesterday, we took a big step yesterday in our relationship. We bought tickets to Thrive St. George.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. We're going to be there together. We're going to have some Ex Mormon Snark merch. You guys, I can't wait to show you the merch. We had a 3-hour planning meeting the other day and we planned out some merch. I'm so excited to roll it out. But we're going to be at Thrive St. George. So if you are going to be in the St. George area, February 22nd through the 24th, I believe it is. The tickets are up on the Thrive website right now. Make sure that you go to the Thrive 2026 St. George website. They're up there now. They always sell out. And so get your tickets now. If you're going to be there, we will have an Ex Mormon Snark meet and greet.
Yes.
To be announced. But I'm super excited for us to go together.
Me too. Can we put the link down in the description? Let's go ahead and do that.
I'll put the link in the description.
I'm saying that because, like Megan said, make sure it's 2026, because I pulled up 2024 and I was like, it's sold out already. And she's like, no, you're at the wrong one.
Yeah. So we're excited about Thrive. We hope you can join us. And if you can't join us there, we will have other live things. We have so many things planned. It's just going to be fabulous. Yeah. I'm excited for our future. Today, we are going to take the next step on the covenant path. And we are going to go inside the temple, not literally because ew. And we are going to talk about the first step in the Mormon endowment ceremony, which is referred to as the initiatory ceremony. And the reason we've decided to break this up into sections is because talking about the whole temple ceremony is very traumatic.
Yeah.
We have a lot of, Mormon trauma, spiritual abuse feelings. And so we figured we would take smaller bites of this elephant. So now we should review just a little bit. If you start with our baptism episode, we do an episode about baptism and confirmation, which those are two separate episodes because we talked for so long. That's the first thing you do as a Mormon child when you're 8 years old. And then when you're 12, you go to the temple to do baptisms for the dead, which we did another episode on that as well.
Yes.
So if you haven't watched those, there's some stuff that we're going to say today that might not make a whole lot of sense, but you can go back and watch them later if you want to, or you can just pause this episode right now and just put on the whole playlist. So we did baptisms for the dead. And then when you get older, usually for dudes, it's like right before they go on their mission, they go through the temple. For girls, they usually go through for the first time right before they get married Or if you're an old maid and you're old enough to go on a mission, then you go through before you go on your mission.
Actually, now since the mission age for women has been lowered to 19, I wonder if more are going through for their mission as well. When
Yeah,
Megan and I went, I was 24. It was right before I got married, a couple of weeks before I got married. Megan's was a little bit later.
I was
You were
30.
probably about my age. Oh, okay.
I think
Um,
I was
I,
30. Yeah.
I know we went around the same time just because of our age difference.
2004.
Okay, so yeah, that was before they changed it, and you
Yep.
were fully nude.
Yep.
They changed it in 2005, and I went through in 2008, I believe, or
Yeah.
2009.
Yeah.
And
So
by then I could wear the garments, but they still
right.
had the shield.
People are confused right now about why I was naked in the
Correct.
temple. And I was too, everybody, because I had no idea that this was part of the thing. So we'll get
Yeah.
to it. We will get to it. But first, I
Yeah.
just want to remind everybody that before you go through the temple, you have to go through a 2-step interview process in order to get
True.
a Mormon card. This is my Mormon card. It expired in August of 2016. This is the last one I had, so I'm still confused about how I got in for my daughter's wedding, but that's a rabbit hole for another time.
It
Because she
worked.
got married
So
in 2018, in October of 2018.
that's crazy that it still worked.
I
But
don't know what happened. But anyway, you have to get this, and it has a little barcode on the side that when you enter, you walk through the temple doors, and guess what? Here's something that people don't know. Anybody can walk into the temple.
yes.
So if you're a non-member and you want to see what it looks like inside, you can walk into the temple. And the first thing that you're going to see is 2 dudes in white suits standing at a desk.
Yep.
And they are the guards, basically. And most of the time they're pretty old, so you could probably take them. That's all I'm saying.
Easily. I do have to say, that front area is really beautiful. I mean, if you wanted to
Yeah.
go in and just see to get a taste of how much money they spend on these and the meticulous details, um, it really is beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not as beautiful as they make it out like it's the most gorgeous thing, but it is very nice. There are chandeliers, there's beautiful in the Las Vegas one, there's like a beautiful velvet couch that has scrolling and everything on it in the front. There's always fresh flowers, you know. It's nice
Yeah.
if you just wanted to walk in that front room. I would go
Kirsten,
do
did
it.
you know that whenever they renovate a temple, do you know what they do with all of that really expensive custom-made furniture?
They throw it away.
Yeah, they literally throw it away when they renovate a temple. They just get rid of it. They don't like repurpose it. They don't offer it as available to members who don't have furniture. They
Nope.
don't sell it. They don't even sell it. They just literally throw it away.
Yep. Into the
So
trash.
every time you hear of a temple being renovated in your area, they are taking all of the furniture from the temple, and there's a lot, and they throw it in the trash. So when you first come
Yep.
into the San Antonio temple, the recommend desk is right in front of you. And to the right is a little room with some very comfortable seating that people can sit in if they have not been through the temple and they're
Right.
awaiting a wedding ceremony or something else. Like sometimes if you adopt a child, you have to go get sealed to that child because they're not born in the covenant. And that would be the waiting room for the child and whomever you've asked to babysit the child. Well, you go do some stuff and then come and get them for the sealing. So, and your other children
Right.
too, you would have to be sealed. So, and then
Yep.
on the left, there is a bathroom, and that's where the kids who are doing baptisms for the dead would get changed in that bathroom. And there's like a back door that goes into the baptistry. But right behind the recommend desk in the San Antonio temple is a beautiful foyer with a wall of water. It's a fountain that's on the wall. And there's beautiful
Oh.
stained glass all over the San Antonio temple. It's but the people at the recommend desk will stop you and they will ask you for your Mormon card. They will say, "Do you have a Mormon card?" And you will
It's
have to
called the
say,
Temple Recommend. I know we've
I'm
gotten
sorry, you're right. It is called a temple recommend. Yeah.
it's literally your stake president and your bishop recommending that you can go to the temple because you passed their interview.
Your temple recommend not only has the barcode on the side, but it also has your record number, your member record number,
Yes.
which is unique to you, like a social security number. And then it has the signature of your bishop and either the stake president or the member of the presidency who interviewed you.
The interview questions are the worthiness questions. We went over
Right.
those.
In
We've
the
kind of
baptism.
touched on them, right, in the baptism and kind of touched on them really in each episode, but it goes through very in depth. Do you believe in God? Do you believe Joseph Smith was a prophet? Do you support any other religion? That's one of the questions. To make sure you're not
Also-
an apostate.
Right. They also ask you if you belong to or affiliate with any organizations that are contrary to the teachings of the LDS Church, because
Correct.
there used to be, I think that question got put in there. I could be wrong about this, but one of the reasons they ask that question is because there used to be an organization called Ordained Women that was
Yep.
members of the LDS Church that were in favor of women being ordained into the priesthood. And the leaders of that organization got excommunicated.
Yes.
Kate Kelly was one of those. She was one of the September 6. And that refers to a group of 6 people who were all excommunicated kind of around the same time. But yeah, they ask you that. They also ask if you are keeping the law of chastity, which means that you're only supposed to have sexual relations with your legally and lawfully wedded spouse. They also
it
ask
must be in a heterosexual relationship as well.
That's
so
right.
Not only is it you're only having sexual relations with your spouse, only if that spouse is the opposite gender of you. So if you
Right.
are married and in a same-sex couple relationship, you are still considered not following the law of chastity because that is specific to a man and a woman. So
Right.
if you are in any sort of relationship outside of marriage, man, woman, that is all, you are deemed unworthy and are unable to go to the temple.
Yep. Even if your marriage is perfectly legal.
I know we were asked about modesty, like how you're dressing, if you're wearing clothes that cover the garment, if you wear the garment, the way it's supposed to be worn.
Yes.
I know I was talked about if I was trying to get sizes that were too small, which we talked about in our last episode. Yeah. And things like that. And I remember being like, and one of the questions too that really, I don't want to say bothered me, but bothers me now being outside of the church is, are you honest in all of your dealings with your fellow man? That bothers me so much because it did then, but it really, really does now, because I have known so many LDS people, specifically in business that I have worked with and talked with, that I feel could not answer yes, but I'm sure they do.
I'm sure they
Because
do.
they go to the temple.
I'm sure they do. 100%. And it was so gross to me to like it never would have occurred to me, honestly, to lie on my temple recommend questions. It never would have occurred to me. I just if I was doing something that I felt was not in keeping with my worthiness for entering the temple, I would just not get my recommend renewed. It never
Same.
occurred to me to lie, but finding out specifically about horrible things that my family members have done, obviously they were lying on their temple recommend interview questions, obviously, very obviously. And it made me feel really gross when I found that out, because I was like, well, you know, who else in the temple now? Because it used to be something I could trust. And I think a lot of members feel that way. It's like, if you
Yeah.
have a temple recommend, then you're a good person. That was the equation that was always in my head. But finding out about abuse and lots of other things, it made me feel unsafe to be in the temple, and I stopped going.
Yeah.
For that
Yeah.
reason. So the temple recommend questions also would have included, are you keeping the word of wisdom, which means no coffee, tea, or tobacco. It means no alcohol. It means no harmful drugs. But they don't ask about if you're abusing prescription drugs. And they
Correct.
don't ask
And
about,
yeah.
the word of wisdom also includes the advice to eat meat sparingly and to eat vegetables only in their season, fruits and vegetables only in their season. But I guarantee you 100% that nobody has ever gone in and confessed to eating strawberries in the winter, you know?
Oh my gosh, I was literally going to use that example. I was like, I know I had strawberries just the other day. Strawberries, blueberries, and blackberries with Greek yogurt is one of my favorite little snacks. So,
And you
I
eat
mean,
that in the winter, Kirsten? That's just wrong.
I do. So,
But
I
if
don't know what to tell you.
but if you drink coffee, you're out. If you drink alcohol, you're out. And finally, because I know you have a lot of passionate thoughts about this, as do I, they will
I
ask
know
you
what's coming.
if you are paying a full and honest tithe, 10% of your income, and a generous fast offering, which means once a month you have to give the value of 2 meals as a donation to those who are in need.
Even if you are the one in need.
Exactly.
I would like to point out.
Yes, exactly.
Having that question in there does show that they require you to pay for salvation. For anybody that has not seen me talk about this before, I will say it in every single episode if I have to. They are the only religion that requires you a specific percentage of your income in order to be saved and have all the blessings of exaltation, which they say that's what it is, all of the blessings of exaltation. Because if you cannot go to the temple and do these things and take out these covenants that we're discussing, you cannot reach the highest level of the celestial kingdom. So when true believing members say to me, well, paying tithing is a choice. Technically, yes, you can choose whether or not you want to be a full, worthy, celestial being. But if you want to have those promises that they talk about prominently, that that's the only way to be a saved Mormon, then no, it's not optional. You cannot go to the temple if you don't pay that 10%. And I'm sure there are people that lie about it, but they will say in the interview, if you say, no, I am not a full tithe payer, they will ask you how far behind you are and will not give you that temple recommend until you are paid in full.
And I know for a fact that there are bishops in the church who, if you are not a full tithe payer, they will require you to turn in your Mormon card. They will take your recommend away from you if you are not a full tithe payer.
In that moment, they will ask you to please hand over your temple recommend.
Please hand over your temple recommend. And nowadays, now that they have the barcode on the side, there is a way that they can like cancel that electronically so that you can't get in.
So they take it very seriously. And Megan, please play the clip.
The Lord does not need your money.
By the way, for those of you who don't know, that man is Susan's husband. His name is David Bednar, and he is currently the number 2 in the church, which is fitting because that's how I feel about him. He's number 2.
He is the number 1 loser. Nobody loses ahead of him. That's how I see it.
Yeah. And also, like, let's remind everybody too how Mormons really feel about the prioritization of paying your tithing.
If a destitute family is faced with the decision of paying their tithing or eating, they should pay their tithing.
So you should give this multiple $100 billion church your money instead of buying food for your family so they could then go put it in their investments account. I said what I said.
Yep. So anyway, you have to bring your
Anyways.
temple recommend to the temple. And so, as I was saying, anybody can go into the temple, but you will be stopped by the two dudes in the white suits who will ask you for your temple recommend, and they will scan it with the little barcode. So after you present your temple recommend, having purchased your fresh set of Mormon jammies, magic underwears, you bring those with you to the temple along with the special ceremonial clothing, which you don't know what it's for yet or how it works or anything, but you buy it and then you bring it with you to the temple, having absolutely no idea of anything that's going to happen.
If I recall, buying your own temple clothing is kind of expensive. I
It is
remember
expensive.
at the time my mom bought them for me because, I was about to get married. I didn't have a lot of money to spare. And that was kind of her gift to me. She bought me all of my garments and my temple clothing. And at that time, I remember it being like $50 to $70. And that was
Yeah.
20 years ago almost. So I can
Right.
only imagine how expensive it is now. And that's insane to me. These are things that are required for you to wear when you go to the temple. And that's a big paycheck. You have to be able to rent them. To me, that seems
Well,
crazy if you wouldn't be
in
able to.
in the Utah temples, you can rent, you could, at least at one time you could. In a lot of the bigger temples you can, but San Antonio is a small temple and they only have
Yeah.
ceremonial clothing available for military people, is what they would tell us. So you're
Oh, wow.
required to bring your own if you are in one of those smaller temples. And also just F the MFMC for making their members pay for anything that they are
Correct.
required to have to go through the temple. And also F them for making people pay to rent the clothing.
Yeah. Oh,
Because they tell
Megan.
you what you're paying for is like the clothing has to be laundered and all of that. So what? You're getting
Yeah.
a volunteer to do it for you. So what? We're paying for the water and the detergent? Really? You're going to nickel and dime us on that shit?
Yes. Yes, this is a business.
So the ceremonial clothing, if I recall correctly, when you're buying it for the first time, you also get a 20% discount. Isn't that generous
Oh,
of the
you're
$300
right.
billion church? And I remember
forgot. Yeah.
here is a ridiculous little anecdote. A member of my family wanted to purchase my clothing for me as a gift when I went through the temple the first time, but they wanted to take advantage of the discount. So they sent me the money and had me purchase it instead of them purchasing it for me, because they knew that if I bought it, I could get a 20% discount. So I believe that you're right that it cost about $60 for the ceremonial clothing. And so this family member probably wrote me a check for $52
Yeah.
or $42.
Well, thanks for the excellent gift.
Yeah.
I remember even at the time being kind of mad that my mom was like, this is a gift. And I wanted to be like, why don't you just like give me the cash or like take me to get a
Right?
manicure?
I'd rather
or
have a bottle of
something?
whiskey.
Yeah.
But also, you are required to not only the ceremonial clothing, but you're also required to wear all white when you're in the temple, which consists of, for women, a white blouse and a floor-length white skirt. It has to be wrist down to your wrist, right? You can't wear
Down
short
to your
sleeves in the
wrist,
temple. And
all the way
enough
up.
to cover the garments. And then which this shirt would be too low.
Mine for sure would be too low.
Yeah. And then you also have to have white stockings and white shoes or slippers. And so,
Yeah.
I didn't own white stockings or white shoes. And so I had to buy some temple shoes. And then I actually made my own floor length temple skirt because I thought all of the ones in the distribution center were ugly and I did not want to wear them because a lot of them are literally like a polyester muumuu that zips up the front. And a
Well,
lot of them are really ugly.
I had a really pretty temple dress. I'm not going to lie. I kind of wish I had saved just that, because to me, that's not anything sacred.
Yeah.
My mom got it for me. Again, this was all part of my gift. She bought me, it was really beautiful. I think it was in the distribution center, but it was like brand new and they only had a couple. But it was a dress. It was kind of form fitting. Like, it was very tailored, and it had embroidered lilies on it. And lily is my
Oh.
favorite flower. So
Aw.
it was really pretty. And she got that for me too, because we knew that my wedding dress would be way too gaudy to be in the temple. Like, there's no way they would let me get married in it, because
Mhm.
you have to get married in your temple clothing. And
Most of the
so,
time. Like, sometimes they will
yeah,
let you wear your wedding dress if it is modest enough, but it has to be, and I remember Alyssa Grenfell talking about this, that they held a white piece of copy paper up to the dress, and they told her her
yep,
dress was not white enough, so she could not get married in
yes.
it.
One of my friends wanted to wear her mother's wedding dress, and just due to aging, it had yellowed a little bit and they wouldn't let her
Mhm.
wear it. And she was really
Yeah,
upset. So, yeah.
that is
Anyways,
really
because
sad.
of that, my mom wanted me to have a pretty dress that I felt pretty in. So,
Mhm.
I know the muumuus you're talking about with that zipper up in the front,
Yeah,
but
most of the
mine
old
was
ladies had that.
actually, yeah, mine
Well,
was actually very pretty.
yeah. So I made my skirt. It was really beautiful. It was, I had a white, um, just a plain white cotton skirt, but over the top, I had an organza overlay that had
Oh.
flowers embroidered on it, and it was really beautiful. And then I just bought a white top that was,
Mhm.
that would go with it. That was really pretty.
Yeah.
I was very unprepared for how see-through all of that would be. And there was even an announcement at one point in the Relief Society room asking women to please not wear colored underwear when they go to the temple. So later on, though, I did buy a much prettier dress. When the distribution center started offering prettier dresses, I bought one of
Mhm.
those that was it was a cotton dress. It had
Mhm.
buttons all the way up the front. It had a little tie around the waist, and the top was kind of fitted, and then the
Mhm.
bottom was like layers of skirt, if you know what I mean, and it sort of like
Mhm.
fanned out, and it was really pretty, and I wish I would have kept that as well, but also um it was also kind of like tied to all of that trauma. And
Yeah, I agree.
when I got rid of my temple stuff, one day my friend Kim was over here, and Kim.
Yeah.
Um and I had it in a hang up bag, my ceremonial
Mhm.
clothing and my dress, and that's where my temple cards went because I kept them in my temple bag. All of the pink
Oh,
cards for the women.
yeah.
Um, and I said to Kim, like, I hadn't left the church, but I had gotten divorced,
Mhm.
and I had dated some Mormon men, and I was like, nope, never going to do that again. I was like, I really don't think that I'm ever going to set foot in a temple again. And this was after my daughter had gotten married. And
Yeah.
and I said, but I don't know what to do with this, and it feels so heavy for me to get rid of it, and I don't know
Yeah.
what to do with it. And she said, let me take care of it. And she just took the bag and put it in her car, and I have no idea what she did with it, but it's gone.
I yeah, I gave all of my temple clothes back to my mom. I had already been out of the church for a couple years, and I was like you, I kind of felt bad getting rid of it, especially, sorry, I hate that my finance comes in all the time. I knew how expensive it was, so I felt bad just
Right,
getting rid of it, because
right,
in my head, I thought there are people that can't afford temple clothes, and I'd rather
right.
have someone have it that couldn't afford it. That was my
Yeah.
thought process. I was like, Mom, you bought this for me. I would love for you to have it and give it to someone who will use it. And she was like, okay. Like, she didn't ask me any questions. She just said,
Mm,
okay. So I don't know what happened to it, but I'm the same way as you. I had my patriarchal blessing in there. I had my temple recommend. I had some other things in there that now I wish I had kept just for fun, if nothing else, to have for this. But I didn't know I'd be having a channel 10 years ago.
right. Right.
But yeah,
And
so I don't know what happened to it. I do hope that she honored my wishes, and in that I want someone to have it that couldn't afford clothes and did go to the temple. Just because it doesn't mean something to me doesn't mean it wouldn't to someone else.
right, right.
So
Well, I do have to
yeah.
say, after I got rid of my temple bag, I realized that my ceremonial clothing was not in there because I found it in the back of a drawer later and I burned it. Yeah. That was very cathartic. It was
Yeah,
very cathartic.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
so you bring all of this temple clothing with you. You have no idea what's going to happen or how it's all going to work. And for me, I went through the Houston temple for the first time
Mhm.
because the San Antonio one wasn't built at the time.
Right.
And so I was taken into one of the bride's rooms. We talked about this on our magic underwear episode, where the
Yep.
temple matron explained to me about the garment, told me to wear it day and night, to never look for an excuse to take it off, to only take it off when, when it was necessary for me to, and that I was to treat it with respect and to never let it touch the floor and to dispose of it properly. We talked about all this in our magic underwear episode.
Yep.
But what they did not tell me is anything about the initiatory ceremony until that moment. And so I was sitting there with my mom and my sister in the bride's room with this little old lady I had never met before. And she instructed me that I was to go into the dressing room and take off all of my clothes and all of my underwear. And then she handed me a poncho, a white poncho. And it had a little V-neck to it, but the sides were completely open. It was truly a poncho.
Yep.
And on the sides were these two little white rope-like ties. And that was it. I was instructed to go in the dressing room, get completely naked, and then put on this poncho, and then come out of the dressing room into the common area where everyone can see me in my poncho
Mhm.
with the sides open, and then to go off into a little room on the side, which was the initiatory room, and sit on a bench with other people who were fully clothed in their temple clothing. But because I was going through for the first time, I was wearing the poncho, then I was naked underneath. And I was sitting next to people who were fully clothed, waiting for my turn for God knows how
Yep.
long.
Well, and also I would like to point out, just so people kind of get a visual, a hospital gown is more covering than this thing. When
100%.
Megan says it is completely open, you can 100% see everything. It's only a swimsuit is more covering. Even a teeny tiny string bikini, in my opinion, is more covering than this poncho. I mean, it's they call it a shield now or something. I don't know, but I don't know what it's shielding from because you can see everything.
Yes, it is called a shield now. And when you do initiatory now, when you go do initiatory for other people, you're just wearing your regular temple dress.
Right.
But the people who go through for the first time, now they're allowed to wear their garments underneath, the underwear, the magic underwear that you bring in with you to the temple. But back then, you were not. And so I was naked in the temple in front of people.
With Joseph's time, you were not only completely nude, but you were sitting in a bathtub just fully exposed, showing everything, getting ready for this. So the reason I really want to talk about that is because people who are going in through the temple now, or more recently since 2005, because in 2005 they changed it where you could actually wear your garments under the shield. I feel like they might think it's not that bad, or maybe they do, but they did not have the discomfort a lot of people did previously because, as we're going to talk about in just a moment, they touch you. Now I know they just gesture to it. But when I
Yep.
did it, they touched you on your breast. near
Yep.
your pubic area, like they touched you in all those places. Now they just gesture to it. So now you're wearing your underwear and they gesture. But when I went, I was wearing my underwear, but they touched me. When Megan went, she was fully nude and they
Yep.
touched her.
Yeah, and to
Okay.
be fair, the woman, so in the initiatory ceremony, like this is the only place where women truly do exercise the priesthood, quote unquote, because they
Yeah.
are performing an ordinance. The initiatory is considered an ordinance like baptism, and the women do perform the ordinance. So in the separate initiatory room, there are 4 women, and they're standing in, it's like one small little room, but there are like cubicle doors separating these
Yeah.
4 different sections. And so you go and you sit in the first section, and there's a woman there who performs the ceremony. And I do have to say that the woman who was doing my original initiatory ceremony, she just touched me right here when she said the
Oh,
part about the breast. And
that's
then when
nice. Mine
she
did not.
again, it's a Rocky Mountain sex cult. It
Yeah.
is. It just is. Like that is the most apt description
Yeah.
of
Mine
this
was like
quote unquote church.
right here, like probably grazed things that should
Yikes.
not be shown. But like it was right here. I don't know if it's because I'm short and she did like I'm not sure, or if that's just how they did it. I mean, you and I went through separate temples, so that could have
Yeah.
been just that
Well, and
person's way of being taught how to do it,
exactly.
you know.
Again, you are in a private room in a setting where you have not been told what is supposed to happen. So that's why when people have come forward and said that they were abused in the temple by the temple worker, this is how this happens, because they don't tell you in advance how it's supposed to happen. So if it gets done the wrong way and an inappropriate way, you have no idea if that's inappropriate or if it's just what everybody does, because nobody tells you, and you're literally naked alone. For the men, they're naked alone with other men who are
Yep.
older than them, who are priesthood holders. So it is a power differential. It's somebody in a position of authority. And if you don't go through this ceremony, you're not going to be with your family for the rest of your life. If you
Exactly.
don't go through this ceremony, you can't go on a mission. If you don't go through this ceremony, you can't get married in the temple. So it's like,
Yep.
what are you going to do? Cancel the wedding? Call off the mission? Go out and tell your parents, I'm sorry, I can't be with you forever because I couldn't go through with the ceremony?
Yeah, and I mean,
It's
you know, I sent Megan a picture that I want to show at some point in this episode, but it, as Megan was saying, and it was the same for me, my family was sitting right there in that same room in their temple clothes. What was I going to do? Walk out and be like, dude, this is fucking weird. I'm out. You know, like you don't want to embarrass yourself. You don't want to feel like this is weird because you know all your family has done this.
right.
So if they're okay with it, you must be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a very, very awkward, truly traumatizing feeling to, I believe, every single person, whether they want to admit it or not.
Right.
Your brain won't let you go there, in my opinion. So
it's traumatizing, and also the cognitive dissonance and the mental gymnastics, and literally in the temple, I remember going through for the first time and gaslighting myself into saying, like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. It feels very culty. I don't like any of it. But what I kept telling myself over and over is that my sister did it, my mom did it, my grandparents did it, my great grandparents did it, my great great great, I'm like, how could they all be wrong? And also, I was close enough with my sister, and she is younger than me, but she went through the temple when she got married, which means, guess what, everybody? My little sister, who I dearly love and adore, who we've been close my entire life, I could not attend her wedding because I hadn't been through the temple yet.
yeah.
I, in fact, didn't get to attend any of my siblings' weddings My two brothers and
Yeah.
my sister all got married before I went through the temple for the first time. And the reason I
Same.
didn't is because I was counseled by my bishop, and I've told that story before. But I literally stood outside of the temple and cried for the entire 2 hours that they were in there. So
Yeah.
anyway, my sister I'm extremely close with. She never said anything to me about the temple ceremony being weird.
Yep.
And
My
I felt
experience
like
was the same.
I felt like
I
she would have told me, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I know my sister did this, and she's literally sitting over there while I'm going through the initiatory. She's in the dressing room waiting for me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, she never said anything about this or said that it was weird, but I can't imagine her going through this and being okay with it. But I just
Yeah.
kept gaslighting myself, and I was like, just shut off those thoughts. It's the devil. Here's the other thing. They tell you that the devil cannot come into the temple. And so if you're having bad thoughts when you're in the temple, it's not the devil tempting you. It's your problem. It's you. You're the problem. It's you.
Yep.
That's what they tell
That's
you. They're like, the devil cannot
Yep.
enter your thoughts when you're in the temple.
So that's
So
just you
that's just
being a
you.
bad member of the church. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
You're so
all
cute.
right. Thanks. I have my moments. I did blur my father's face. He is still living, but my mom and my grandmother are not. So I feel okay sharing this picture. The reason I wanted to show this is because this was the first time I had been, fully in the temple with these family members. I saw my grandma rarely. I grew up in Texas and she lived in California, and then eventually moved to Utah. And I didn't see her all that often throughout my life. And there were times where I knew my family was disappointed in me for not necessarily following the path, especially after I graduated from BYU. I was pretty vocal in my experiences at BYU and how I was starting to not necessarily believe all the doctrine. And my family very openly talked about me, to my face and behind my back. And my grandma never really came to see me. She wasn't there for a lot of really important moments in my life, but she came for this. And so when things were feeling very weird, I was feeling like I couldn't say anything because my grandma, who I never saw, was finally proud of me. My mother and I had gone and picked out these dresses together, for this special moment. And so, you can kind of see in my face, I'm smiling, but I see fear when I look at that because I know maybe it's just because I know how I was feeling that day. But to me, that doesn't seem like my genuine smile. And again, like Megan was saying, this was just a couple weeks before my wedding. So I knew
Yeah.
if I didn't go through all of this and, really feel, I don't know, like it was okay or this was all going to be fine, I would have to cancel my wedding. Like
Yeah.
I had to go through all of this. And so I don't know. It was a really hard, scary
Yeah.
day. I felt completely exhausted. I went home and took a nap for a couple hours,
Hmm.
you know. So when I see this picture, I don't know, it's kind of traumatizing to be honest, but
Your smile looks a little anxious to me.
yeah, that's
Like
probably a better,
you were saying, not your
yeah.
genuine smile.
Yeah, I'm like, I just look like, oh shit, what did I just get into?
Yeah. I do have to
So,
say, like my grandmother also, I grew up away from her, my mom's mom.
yeah,
I do have to say that, like, yes, I know when I went through the temple, she was happy that I did it. She felt relieved that I did it. But I never got the impression from my grandmother that she was not proud of me. And when I got
yeah,
pregnant before I was married, she was very kind to me, and she sent me letters of love and encouragement, not anything of judgment or shame. And I always appreciated that about her, but
yeah,
it is
yeah,
very much like, but for my parents, 100%, I knew that if I did not go through with the temple ceremony, that would be just another disappointment for them, and
yeah,
also I really wanted to do all of the right things. I really
Yep.
wanted my life to be acceptable to God. I really
Yeah.
wanted to be, that's what I wanted. I just wanted to
Yeah.
be good. I wanted to be good with God, and I wanted him to love me. And we were told,
Yeah.
you know, that this is the other crazy, harmful thing about Mormonism, that I didn't really get this fully explained to me until I was like a teacher in Relief Society, and they wanted me to teach this lesson about God's love. And literally what
Mhm.
I had to say is that I know this is going to be hard for some people, but oh no, it wasn't me teaching the lesson, it was somebody else. But she said, God's love, the fullness of his love and acceptance is reserved for those who fully participate in the temple ceremonies and keep all of the commandments and endure to the end. And I remember one of the other ladies in the Relief Society, like, I was like, what? This is the first I'm hearing of this. And one of the other ladies in the Relief Society said, I'm having a really hard time with this because I really thought that God's love was unconditional. And she said, yes, his love is unconditional, but the fullness of his divine approval is reserved for those who make covenants in the temple and keep them.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, noted. I, you know, and I wanted that divine approval. So that was part
Yeah.
of it.
It is very sad that a lot of people grow up, I'm sure like me and Megan, assuming that God's love is unconditional, Christ's atonement is all encompassing. And then as you get deeper into the doctrine, you realize that's not true.
Yeah.
Or at least that's not what the prophets have told us. So, yeah, it's
Right.
just end of the day, it felt like this very weird ceremony where you are nude and being touched was required in order to be fully sanctified.
Right. Exactly. So all these thoughts are going through my head as I'm sitting there naked under a poncho, you know, next to
Yeah.
these other women who are fully clothed. And I'm like, you know, plus, you know, my body shame is at level 10 at this point.
Yeah.
You know, I had had a baby, 3 years prior, and what I wore to the temple was a maternity skirt. Not because like I still really had the baby weight, but it was kind of a cute skirt. It was a black skirt that was like high in the front and low in the back. And it,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, came to a V like just above my knees. And by the way, after I put my garments on, you could still see them because they were the wrong size, because I didn't know
Yeah.
what I was doing when I bought them. And I was super embarrassed about that, but whatever. I digress. So anyway, all of these thoughts are going through my head, and you know, I'm just sitting there waiting. And so they take you back into the little room that's divided into the 4 cubicle things. And there's a woman, and all of the women in the temple, of course, are fully dressed in white. Most of them are older ladies. They've changed this a little bit now, but back then you had to be called to be a temple worker, and you had to have all of your children had to be out of the house because they didn't want you, you know, working in the temple if you still had kids at home. Nowadays, they have some sister missionaries that will work in the temple, so they're a little younger. I do remember I had a couple of friends who didn't have kids who were temple workers.
Right.
But yeah, all of the women in my initiatory ceremony were older women.
Mine
Um,
too.
who had been called. And they have a little name tag that's a white name tag that has their name on it, and it says sister and then their last name, because in the Mormon church you don't get to be called by your first name, and you don't get to call anyone by their first name even as an adult. Like once you become an adult, I was referred to as Sister Connor by everybody in the church. So it's a little dehumanizing, honestly. And
Yeah.
I'll say like sister and my married name for my adult life. You know, nobody ever called me by my first name. It was always
Yep.
sister. And in the temple, if they don't know your last name, they'll just call you sister. And so they'll say, sister, go ahead and put on this poncho when you're naked. And sister, go ahead and go. And actually, in the temple, you're not supposed to speak. If you must speak, you should whisper, because everything in
Right.
the temple is very sacred.
And when it's sacred, apparently you want it to be a secret at the same time so no
Right.
one can hear you.
Right. They just want you to, they want everything to be very reverent in the temple and very
Yeah.
silent. And it is, I do have to say there were times when I was going through hard times and I would go and do some temple work and then I would go and sit in the celestial room and it was a very peaceful feeling.
Yeah.
But not while I was sitting there waiting for my initiatory ceremony. So I got taken back in there and in the first cubicle, they teach you about washings and anointings. And they basically say that the washing and anointing ceremony happened anciently as recorded in the Old Testament. And then they quote a scripture.
Yep.
And
Where is it
Aaron
from?
brought his
Is it
son.
Exodus?
I think it's from
Where's-
Exodus. And it says,
Yeah.
and the scripture is, and Aaron brought his sons to the door of the tabernacle. And they were, whatever, washed and anointed. Some of my Mormon brain
Yeah.
cells are dying, which I'm happy about. And so she said, now you are washed and anointed only symbolically as follows. And then she would pour, there was like a little horn shaped vessel attached to the wall that was also white, shaped like a horn,
Yep.
like
Like a Viking
ram
horn.
like not a Viking, yeah, like a Viking horn.
Yeah.
And there was a little white teaspoon, and she would take some of the consecrated oil, which consecrated means that's been blessed by a priesthood holder.
Yep.
And she would put some of the oil on top of my head. And then she would repeat the magic words. We are only washed and anointed symbolically as follows. I anoint you with oil in the Mormon voice.
Yes, I wash you preparatory to your receiving anointings, that you may become clean from the blood and sins of this generation. And then
And
they
then-
touch you.
Actually, in the first room, it's not the oil. In the first room, there's like a little sink, and it's like a pedestal, and there's a
Mhm.
little faucet, and it's constantly running. The faucet is constantly running, and they just like run their fingers under the water, and then they draw a band across your forehead. That's the
Oh,
washing.
yeah. I forgot they do that, and then it's the oil on your head.
The oil is in the next
Yeah.
room. So this room has that little pedestal sink, and I always thought it was weird that it was constantly running. I'm like, why would you leave the water running and just waste all that water? But they don't care because they've got so much money.
Okay, so what I just said was actually the washing. You're right. The
Yeah.
anointing
So wait,
is
washing, that's it, right? No, she would like draw the band across your head with the water, and she
I
would
wash
say, I
your
wash
head.
you.
I wash your head that your brain and intellect may be clear and active. Your ears, I remember they touched the top of my ear.
Yep.
The ears, you may hear the word of the Lord. Your eyes, that you may see clearly and discern between truth and error. Your nose, that you may smell. Your lips, that you may never speak guile. Sorry. Your neck, that it may bear up your head properly.
Oh, thank goodness I got that blessing. I mean, I guess
Right.
there are some people who have neck problems who were really grateful to get that. But they would touch each of these parts as they were talking about it.
Your shoulders, they may bear the burdens that shall be placed thereon. Your back, there may be marrow in the bones and in your spine. Your breast, that it may be the receptacle of pure and virtuous principles. Your vitals and your bowels, they may be
Which-
healthy.
The lady in my situation, again, she touched me here for breast, and then when she said vitals and bowels, she just gestured to my abdomen area.
Oh, no, mine was touched.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember because I was feeling a lot of body shame as well.
But-
And I didn't like that they touched my stomach.
But here's what's going through my mind as this is happening. We're going to wash you preparatory to receiving your anointings.
Yeah.
And then she starts saying the thing, she touches my forehead, and then she starts talking and saying the things, and she starts touching each of my body parts, and it's getting closer and closer. And I've got huge anxiety at this point because I had not dealt with any of my SA trauma, and I was literally shaking and sweating as this was happening.
Oh, I'm
And
sure.
because she was getting closer and closer and closer to touching me. And I was like, is she going to actually touch me? Like, I'm like, I'm fully
Yeah.
naked under this thing. Is she going to is she going to get under and grab stuff? Like what? I was full of anxiety at this point. I just was
I'm like,
absolutely
yeah,
terrified.
yeah.
It
I
was
was
it was
feeling,
definitely traumatic.
I was so uncomfortable. Like I said, I had a lot of body shame. I didn't like that they were touching my body. And also the garments are not thick material. I mean, if you were standing, the picture we show, you really couldn't see anything. But if you were wearing the proper size and you're right up close, you can see fully through them,
Yes. They're
So
100% see-through.
yeah. So she was touching me. But anyways, then it's your arms and hands, they may be strong and wield the
But
sword
wait,
of justice.
what about my bowels?
Oh,
Aren't they?
your vitals and bowels, that they may be healthy and perform the proper functions.
Mm-hmm.
Then your arms and hands, they may be strong and wield the sword of justice in defense of truth and virtue. Your
Wait a second.
loins.
Hold on. That
What?
they may wield the sword of truth and justice. Is that what it said? I forgot
Yeah.
about that part. Wow. Okay. Moving on.
Yeah. I did not, because it reminded me of Maleficent and Sleeping Beauty. Because
When she
that's
has
what it
the
is.
sword.
No, Prince Philip, he has the sword
Yeah.
of truth and
Of truth,
justice. It's
yeah.
literally in it. Yeah. The
It's
sword
a
of
flaming
truth.
sword, if I
Yeah.
recall correctly. Isn't it a flaming sword?
No, but when Maleficent blows the fire on him, it does have a flame around it. So
Right.
I see where you're coming
Yeah.
from.
Anyway, you were
Okay.
about to say something about my loins.
Yes, here it comes. Your loins, that you may be fruitful and multiply to replenish the earth, that you may have joy in your posterity. Which they touched me right here on my hip.
They did touch my hip on that one. And I
Yes,
was very scared because I thought she
me
was going to
too.
reach into the shield and touch my loins. I was like,
Yes,
and this is, again, it's another way for people to abuse, because when you're going through for
yeah,
the first time, you don't know what they're going to do or if they're supposed to or not. And there are
yeah,
plenty of men who have been grabbed under their shield
yep,
before they had people wear their garments, and probably since then as well. And so, again, just not having the
yeah,
informed consent is dangerous to people's safety, you know?
yep,
And,
yep,
these are some of these guys that go through at the age of 18. They're young guys. And these are, older men who are in a position of
yeah,
authority. It's a huge problem. It's like these temple ceremonies are supposed to be magical. Like, that's not what they say, but they're supposed to have the power to heal
yeah,
things, and to, if you're getting your entire body blessed at this point, can you imagine how someone handicapped feels? Can you imagine how
yeah,
someone who's infertile feels after their loins have been blessed to multiply and replenish the earth, and then it doesn't work?
yeah, yeah.
It's
And
just, there's a lot
it's
of trauma and shame and all of that wrapped up in these temple ceremonies.
yeah. Yeah, so after your loins, then your legs and feet, that you might run and not be weary, walk and not faint. And then you get a blessing.
Just to reiterate, like, this is the only place where women have the authority to give other women blessings.
Right.
Which, if you can do it in the temple, why can't you do it at other times? I don't know. But anyway,
Yep.
I always felt pretty happy about that women get to use priesthood power while they're in the temple. So whenever somebody would
Yeah.
say to me, aren't you upset about not having the priesthood? I'm like, well, I do have access to the blessings of the priesthood through my temple covenants, and I can exercise the priesthood when I'm in the temple. So
The women also get to do it in the second anointing. Okay, so this is the part that I remember really bothered me, I guess, at the time, and I was very hopeful at the same time. So they say your name, having authority, we lay our hands upon your head and seal upon you this washing, that you may become clean from the blood and sins of this generation through your faithfulness.
yeah. Hang
In the
on
name
one
of Jesus
second
Christ,
though,
amen.
because what
Yeah.
would happen when she was done with the washing and anointing, Another
Yeah.
woman would come from one of the other cubicles, so it would be two
Yes.
women laying their hands on your head. Yeah.
Yeah, which it literally says a second officiator enters, both
Yeah.
officiators place the hand on their head. So then the anointing comes right after, and this is the part. It's not basically. It's like
But wait,
very
so
similar.
do they not say that? Oh, so that's the end of the blessing according
The
to your
anointing,
faithfulness.
right? The
And
anointing is the
then,
one I know where you're going, where it talks about you being a queen
right.
and
But
being
I
a
was just going to say,
priestess
like,
unto your husband.
after they finish the blessing, you get up and go into the next cubicle with the other
Right.
officiant.
Right.
And then while you're in that cubicle, so as you're going around these cubicles, there are people outside waiting to have their turn to do this thing.
Yeah.
But nobody else
Yeah.
comes into the cubicles while you're in there. So it's just you and the one person until it's time for the blessing, and then they come in. So the second
Yep.
cubicle is the anointing with the oil, and that's the little horn with the little teaspoon where they
Yeah.
put the oil on your scalp, right?
Right. Yep. Right. So they do that, and then it's a little bit different in that when they give you the blessing, they say, "We anoint you preparatory to you becoming a queen and a priestess unto your," well, so this is the men's version. "We anoint you preparatory to your becoming a king and priest unto the most high God, hereafter to rule and reign in the house of Israel forever." That is the men's blessing. The women's blessing, I don't know if they've changed it since, because I know that they're trying to make it more women friendly. But the women's blessing says, "We anoint you preparatory to becoming a queen and priestess unto your husband
Right.
to rule and reign in the house of Israel forever."
Doesn't it say
So
to rule and reign with him?
with him, you're right.
Yeah. To rule and reign with him in
Yeah.
the house of Israel forever. And so when I was receiving my anointing, I was married, but not to a faithful member of the church. He had been baptized, but almost immediately stopped going to church and never really came back except when, occasionally if I would sing or if the kids were singing or giving a talk, he would come. And that was it. So this was
Right.
also really sad for me because I was like, well, I'm getting anointed to be a priestess unto my husband, who I'm pretty sure is never going to do this thing in here. And
Yeah.
so where does that leave me? Like I'm stuck with him rather than getting to make a promise directly with God or being anointed to be directly with God.
Yeah.
So there's that, I guess.
Right?
It was
Yeah.
pretty hard for me to hear that the first time that I went through. And the more times I went through, I just thought, well, God will work it out. I don't know.
Yeah. I it didn't really happen the first time I went through, but as I went through my marriage, there were a lot of issues. My ex-husband was unfaithful and had other issues with substance abuse, and there was a lot of issues. And so I remember every time I did that, it made me really upset because I thought, okay, he's done this, but the person I'm tethered to isn't following what they're supposed to be doing. So how does
Yeah.
that work? How am I supposed to
Right.
go and, be able to talk with God or go into the celestial kingdom or whatever when the person that I am sealed to, literally eternally tethered to, isn't doing what they're supposed to do? So how does that work? And that
Yeah.
was something that plagued me literally throughout my marriage. I was like, I hope he gets his shit together sometime because I don't know how else I'm gonna do this, So
Yeah. And
yeah.
for me, it was a constant source of sadness. And
Yeah.
I was constantly praying to God, asking him to, tell me what I needed to do or say
Yep.
so that my husband would come back to church. Like that was a
Yep.
constant prayer of mine, of my
Yep.
children, of my parents, like everybody, because our family was not whole until he went through the temple and we got sealed together. So it
Yep.
was
Exactly.
constantly sad for me.
Yep. Ugh, I hate that for us. I just
I
hate.
know. I do too. I hate all of this for us.
Ugh. Okay, so in the anointing, it's very, very similar. They pretty much do the exact same thing. They touch you, your nose, you can smell, your lips never speak guile, bear up your head properly, burdens, blah, blah, blah. Your breast, a receptacle of pure and virtuous principles. I love the bowels one. They may be healthy and perform their proper functions. We truly hope you don't get IBS.
Right. Right. And we hope that you remain regular.
Right. So then at the end, they just kind of repeat the blessing, having authority. We lay our hands upon your head, confirm you this anointing wherewith you've been anointed in the temple of God, preparatory to becoming a king and a priest unto Most High God, hereafter to rule and reign the house of Israel forever, and seal upon you the blessings through hereunto appertaining through
Appertaining
appertaining through your
faithfulness.
faithfulness. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
I remember hearing this for the first time and thinking to myself, hereunto appertaining? What? Like, what kind of double speak bullshit is that? I was like, I'm going to go and look that up when I get home. But I also,
Yeah.
I have this weird thing that, like, I can see a movie one time, and if there's a part that resonates with me, I can quote it directly. And so it was the same thing going through
What
the
a
temple.
freaky talent. Like,
I know.
freaky talent, but I'm the same way. I can watch a movie once and like repeat it verbatim. It's very
Right.
odd.
And same thing, like when I was in court and something was said, I would make a note, I would take notes, but there were things that I could remember verbatim what was said, and the temple was no
Yeah.
exception. So whenever I got home, I remembered a lot of the exact verbiage, even after just the first time. But can you
Me too.
imagine after another 15 years of doing that very frequently? Of course, like, that's why I say it was really funny. One time my parents and we were in California, and we wanted to go to the Los Angeles temple because I had never been there. And it happened to be closed the day that we were there. And as we were driving away, I said to he's like, oh, that's really disappointing. And I said to my dad, I was like, well, I can do the whole temple ceremony right now for you if you want. We can just do it right now. And he was like, I think not.
I do have to say, there was one time I went and I had to correct the temple worker at the veil. He got it wrong. And I was like, and I repeated it back, like while he was talking, all of a sudden he goes, oh, and I was like, sir.
Yeah. And that's the other thing about Mormonism. If we haven't been clear about this, these ceremonial words are very, very important to get perfect. So if you've ever attended a Mormon sacrament meeting and somebody if they get the prayer on the sacrament wrong, they have to repeat it until they get it right, and it has to be exactly correct. And here's what's always confusing to me. They have it on a little card down there when they're doing the prayer. So it's not like they have to have it memorized. They just have to read it correctly off of the card. But if they don't get it right, they have to do it again. And so it was like when I got baptized and some of my hair was floating up to the top of the water, they made my dad do it again. So the exact verbatim is really, really important in Mormonism. And that's something that's going to come into play as we keep talking about the temple ceremonies.
Yeah. Just a little story about the sacrament. When you were talking about reading the card, I want to share a story about a young man that was in my ward. I knew him very well, and he did have some difficulty. I don't know if he was dyslexic. I'm assuming something like that. But there was a specific time that I was friends with him. I knew he was having a hard time just in a personal thing, and he was trying to bless the sacrament, and he was really tripping up. I am not exaggerating. When he had to redo it probably 30 times, and I'm not exaggerating, just kept going and going and going. And towards the end, like when a member of the bishopric came up to him and put his hand on his shoulder, and you could hear in the microphone, because there's a microphone there, that he started to cry, the boy. And the bishop put his hand on his shoulder. You could hear the mic went off, and then he whispered it to him in his ear. And even then, I think it took a couple more tries, but it went on and on and on. And the reason that stands out to me is I felt, for one, very bad for my friend, but for
Right.
two, I had people in my family that started literally very audibly sighing and getting frustrated. And I was so disheartened by that because I felt like this
Yeah.
person is obviously struggling. Again, it was my friend, so I felt bad
Right.
anyway. But I was like, it's not like we're going anywhere else. This is really
Right.
stupid. Like, but also I almost wish they had been, I don't know if like give him a break, let someone else do it. I don't
Right.
think this individual would have been too proud to just hand it to someone else.
Right.
But it was almost like a show of, no, you have to get it perfect.
You are
It's
going to
your
get this
turn to
right.
bless.
Right.
Yeah, and it
Ugh.
was yeah, just
See,
sad.
I think after probably 5 times, if I had been the bishop, which of course I never would, I would have been like, I would have probably gone over there, put my hand on his shoulder and said, "It's okay, you can do it another time. Let's practice
Yeah,
it and you can do it next week. Let's try
yeah,
again."
yeah.
Because it does get really uncomfortable. Like I have been physically uncomfortable for, on behalf of the person who's up there saying the
Right?
prayer.
Yeah,
After, like, it's not a big deal if they have to repeat it one time, but
yeah,
after the second time and then the third time, it's like it just gets more and more uncomfortable, and I feel so terrible for the person, and the pressure
yeah.
on them gets higher and higher every time because it's like, okay, it's the 5th time now. You've got to, people are waiting on you. The whole
Right?
congregation is waiting on you. It's like, God, why do we put so much pressure on these young people, these boys that are 16? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the second cubicle. And then you go
Yep.
into the third cubicle. And what gets said in
That's
there, I
when
can't remember now.
that's where they actually like give you the garment, or it initiates you to wearing the garment. So,
Right.
having authority, I place this garment upon you, which you must wear throughout your life. It represents the garment given to Adam when he was found, or Eve, when it's women,
Yeah.
was given
When
to
it's
Eve
women.
when they're found naked in the Garden of Eden, and is called the garment of the holy priesthood. Inasmuch as you do not defile it, but are true and faithful to your covenants, it will be a shield and a protection to you against the power of the destroyer
Who
until you
is?
have Satan. Sorry.
Could it be Satan?
Satan?
Sorry. Against the power of the destroyer.
Until you have finished your work upon the earth.
So there's a little shot of mortality for you. Basically, like, your garments aren't going to protect you anymore when it's your time to die, is what that's the mental thing that went through my head when I said that, like when I heard
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
so for me, since I wasn't wearing my garment, I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think that the garments that like I had purchased were
Yeah.
physically in the room with us. I don't know if that's true. I can't remember if that's
No,
true or not.
I think that is true. Like they would hand them to you, or
Right.
something like that at that point.
And if this
Yeah.
is, again, it was traumatic for me, and so some of it is very, very fuzzy, but I think if I remember correctly, that at that point the woman left the cubicle and then I was supposed to put the garments on under the shield at that point.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that's what happened, but I could be wrong because it's all in my trauma brain.
Yes. Yeah. So I already had mine on, but I don't know if I removed the shield or they just touched the garment underneath me. I don't remember, but there was some sort of like ceremonial gesture as if they were giving me my garments or placing it upon me or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
So that was still very much in it. And again, more touching and things like that.
Right. More
So,
touching. All the
more
touching.
touching. I want to read this part because I thought it just is very interesting to me. And this is how it was in the beginning when Joseph Smith did it. Okay. In the 19th century, which was Joseph's time, water and oil were generously applied while the initiate sat in the tub. In the 20th century, the washing and anointing became more symbolic. Officiators merely dabbed a little water and oil on each body part while the initiant sat on a stool, clothed in the shield. Despite the
So
increased modesty, the 20th century initiatory remained a physically intimate rite, requiring officiators to touch initiates on the sternum, on the lower back, on the kidney, near the site of the hip, and these gestures were facilitated by the shield being open at the sides.
yeah. So what that tells me is that the washing that I got, where they only used water, she only ran her finger under the water one time. She did this across my forehead, and then she didn't
Yeah.
touch the water again. And again, she did touch parts of my body, but not all of them.
Right.
And so what this is telling me, though, is that previously that people were touched each
Correct.
time,
Yeah.
you know, like with the water and then again with the oil, because the first time is just the washing and the second time is the
Right.
anointing. So they touch everything twice.
Yep.
And I only got oil on the top of my head. I didn't get it on all of my body parts, but they would have done that back in the day.
Correct. And
Right.
I know this is very petty of me, but I did not enjoy getting oil in my hair because I
didn't
had
either.
other things to do after. And then you had
Right.
all this oil on your hair, especially if you were doing it for the dead. So what we've been talking
Right.
about is when you go through for yourself the first time. But then, just like baptisms, you also can do them as proxy for people who have died. You get the little
Right.
card. It's the same thing. They do the exact same ceremony, just instead of your name, they put on behalf of George, who is dead, you know?
Right.
So if you do more than one, which most people do, just like the baptisms, you're getting the oil on your head every single time.
Every
And
time.
so if you had things to do after, your hair was literally covered in oil. And like,
Yeah. So like the little
it was gross.
teaspoon, you know,
Yeah.
I feel like people had different levels of how much oil they would put on, because sometimes it would just be like a tiny little drop, and other times it would be
Yeah.
like they would pour the whole teaspoon on.
Right.
And I do
Yeah.
remember in the initiatory rooms that they had like a little tissue box, and they would hand you a tissue and you could, you know, dab the oil,
Yeah.
but it's still there. It's still a
Yeah.
problem. I always hated that.
Yeah.
And when they give you a blessing, like a priesthood blessing, if you're sick, or a father's blessing or whatever, they use that oil as
Yeah.
well. You'll see a lot of Mormon men have a little tiny vial on their keychain that they always
Yeah.
carry with them in case they need to give a priesthood blessing in an emergency or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the oil,
I got
hated it.
smart after a while. Yeah, I got smart after a while because I would put my hair in a ponytail or slicked back in a bun. So then if it got all oily, it wouldn't be as noticeable.
Yeah, it was just on the top and not like in your scalp. That's the other
Right.
thing though, is that my dad, whenever he would give me a blessing with oil, he was very particular about making sure that the oil touched my scalp. So
So did
even if
my
I had a
dad.
ponytail, he would make sure I
Yeah,
was in the part,
like
you
split it.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
My dad did the same thing. He would literally like I have very thick hair, so I remember he'd be like, "Where's your scalp?" And he would like put it on there.
Yeah, weird Mormon things.
So
So is
so
that the end? Are we done? Like once I put my garments on and then I put my shield back on, I think was that it? It was
that's
done,
it.
right?
Because then is when you get your new name and you go to the
Through
endowment
the endowment.
ceremonies.
Yeah. So
Yep.
we can talk
So
about new name another time.
yeah.
But so after, you know, you've got your garments on and everything, then you go into the dressing room and put on your all white either dress or blouse and skirt, and your stockings and your shoes.
Mhm.
And then you have all of your ceremonial clothing is in a little packet that's like, it's a little rectangle.
Yeah.
Mine was like the fabric outside was made like of a kind of gauzy material, so you could see the green apron
Oh,
through it.
mine was like a pillowcase almost. It was like cotton. It
Yeah,
had a little snap on it.
right.
So
So you have to like
yeah.
carry it with you. And I remember the first time that I went through, um, being really embarrassed about the fact that I was wearing my garment top. I was wearing my bra over it because that's what I was instructed to do, because the garment has
Yep.
to be next to your skin is what they told me. And then I put my white blouse on over it. And I remember being really embarrassed that I was wearing a nude colored bra and people could see it.
You could see it.
Like you could see everything, like you could
Yep.
see it. And so I remember having like my little temple packet and I just like hugged it close to me like this as I went in. And they pin a little pink card to your shirt so that everybody knows it's your first time going through the temple.
Yep.
And so that the workers know it's your first time, and you get to sit in the front row because it's your first time. But we'll get into all of that. We'll do the new name a
Yes.
different time, and we'll do the whole endowment ceremony another time, because it's all
Yeah.
very
That's
traumatic for
probably,
us.
I
We have
mean,
to
we
take a
might
break.
even have to, well, I was going to say that one we might even have to do in 2, but the endowment ceremony itself is like 2 hours, or it was when I went. Now they
It's like
say it's like 45 minutes, but it was
it was
long.
an
It's a lot.
yeah, it was an hour. It was an hour and a half for the actual ceremony, I think. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
there's the whole veil ceremony, which always
Right.
takes a long time because every person has to go up there individually, usually 3
Yeah.
or 4 at a time, but still it takes a long time for everybody to get through that. And
Yep.
then if you want to spend time in the celestial room afterwards, then that's additional time. So I always planned for
Yep.
like I planned for at least 2 hours once I got in there, because when
Yeah.
you go through subsequently, you have to like show up early to get
Yeah.
all dressed and get your new name or the new name for the person you're going through and be seated before your session starts on the hour. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we might have to
It's a
do more
lot.
than one episode for the endowment ceremony, but it's
Yeah.
coming. And I'm glad we're doing this, because I remember when I first left the church feeling like scandalized that all of the temple ceremonies were available online and everything. Now I don't feel so bad about talking about all this stuff, because it's everywhere. Like you can literally look up the entire ceremony. It's been recorded multiple times by
Yeah.
multiple people in the temple during an actual ceremony. And
Yeah.
so it's available. And I'm actually kind of glad, because I'm glad that kids now can go look it up and watch it if they want to,
Me too. Yeah.
And I feel bad that I didn't do enough to teach my daughter before she went through about everything, because, it's that culture of secrecy kind of thing. And like, I'm not supposed to tell you until we're in the temple. And
Yeah.
if I had been then the kind of mother that I am now, and I was still in, which wouldn't happen, but there's that, I would have sat down with my daughter and I would have explained everything to her before we went through the
Yeah.
temple.
On that note, in preparation and kind of talking about the temple, because my husband has had questions since he's watched everything that we've done. He's like, I had no idea, which I would love to have him sometime on and talk to him about just like his questions that he's had since we've started.
You know
Everyone,
what?
leave a comment if you want to see John on the show and
I
answer his
do.
temple questions. I do too.
I do. And actually, I think we should make it a regular thing. Like a Never Mo
have John.
asks, a Never Mo wants to know.
Yes.
have him
Oh, I
on.
love that. That would be so
Yeah.
funny.
It would be
Anyways,
hilarious.
the reason why I brought this up when you're talking about having your daughter go through is because John and I were kind of talking about the temple ceremony, and my son was like, secret handshakes like a club? And I was like, yeah, like a club. And I showed him the handshakes while we were there. So my youngest son can get into
He now
heaven
knows.
because
He now
he
knows.
knows the handshakes, and he was giggling. He was like, what? Why are you doing that? What? That means you go to heaven? And I was like, yeah. When we linked pinkies, he was like, this feels weird. And I was like, well, you better remember it so you can get into heaven. And
That's
he
right.
was
Otherwise,
giggling. He thought it was the funniest thing in the world. So
well, it's one of the reasons why they don't want you talking about it outside the temple, because again, if you are in a situation where like you're in your normal house, you're not at church, you're just talking with friends, and somebody tells you it's handshakes, you're like, what? But you're under this condition when you go through for the first time, where I had been fasting all day got up in the
Me
morning.
too.
We drove to Houston. My
Yep.
appointment was like at 1 o'clock or something, and I had not had anything to eat. And so that's part of the indoctrination. And then you're in this
Yeah.
super stressful social pressure situation, pressure cooker,
Yeah.
basically. And so when it feels weird or looks weird or seems weird, you're kind of trapped. And they do that on purpose,
Yeah.
I think, because again, if somebody had told me handshakes, I would have had a lot of questions. And so it's why they
Me
don't tell
too.
you.
But
Yeah.
I'm glad we're doing this, Megan. I
too.
appreciate all your commentary, and I'm looking forward to the endowment ceremony because that is
I'm
something
looking
I
forward to-
have. I have so many comments. For those who don't know, stonemasonry runs in my family back to Joseph's time. So I've got a lot of commentary, to say the least.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to do more than one episode. I have a feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Uh,
all right.
have a
Well, I'm
great
looking
day, you
forward
guys.
to it. Yeah, I'm glad.
Me
I'm glad
too.
you're doing this together.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just happy to be
Yeah.
here with you, and then thank you to all of our Snarkians who are supporting the channel.
See you
All right,
guys on
have a great day,
Monday.
everybody. See you on Monday night. Don't forget family night. Join us for a treat.
Always.
Love you guys.
Right. Bye.
Bye.